Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual, and I'm here to talk about the Stark Moon slash New Moon of Gemini that is happening on May 26th or 27th, depending on where you are in the world. I am recording this on May 25th, so Saturn has moved into Aries. He is at 0 degrees of Aries in 2 seconds, because I did check right before I came on. So what I want to do with this video is sort of talk about the meat and potatoes of the energy of this dark moon slash full moon, and then kind of work myself backwards into talking about Gemini, immutable signs and their energy. So to get to the heart of the matter, the big news, or what I'm seeing is with this dark moon slash new moon, is the integration, still again, of the masculine and feminine energies coming in extremely strong with this moon. And the reason I say that is because this moon will be at 6 degrees of Gemini, and anything between 0 to 10 degrees in the zodiac to me is always that really young energy. And so this is only at 6 degrees. And so it's always a page energy. I pulled the pages. We'll get to them in a minute. But what's happening is Pluto, who rules Scorpio, who is fixed water. Pluto is still at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and Pluto is going to be trining Gemini. And then Pluto is also going to be sextiling Saturn and Neptune, who are both in Aries now. So that trine is at 90 degrees. Boop, boop, looks like a triangle. And then that sextiling energy is 60 degrees. So Pluto's 60 degrees from um, Saturn and Neptune, who are both in Aries. So we have that initiating masculine fire energy of Aries, who now has Neptune at 1 degree, 2 degrees, and then 1 degree, and then Saturn at 0 degrees. Um, Talking to Pluto, who's in Aquarius, who is fixed air. Pluto's fixed water, and then trining Gemini, right? Gemini is communication. Gemini is the twins. Gemini is left brain, right brain. Gemini is head and heart. Um, and so they're all having this conversation. Okay, Pluto is transformation. Pluto is death, right? But Pluto is also that rebirth energy. So it is this transforming the way the masculine energy, Aries, is going to deal with boundaries, Saturn, that feminine energy of Neptune, who rules Pisces, by the way, which is also that alpha and omega energy, which is also that transformation. In conversation with Gemini, right, who is left brain, right brain, who is masculine and feminine to me, head and heart. Gemini is also the left brain. The left brain rules logic, okay? And logic is usually what we see with air signs. And then that right brain is that creativity, which we usually see with like earth and water signs. Okay, so logic would be left brain, masculine, fire and air, which is this moon, right? Working with Aries, which is fire, working with air, which is Gemini. But the big wild card in there, the big player is Pluto, which is fixed water, which is coming in and talking to both of the fire and air. Pluto sitting in Aquarius, right, is rewriting that story of the masculine, right? Like fire and air are these masculine energies. So it's rewriting the story of masculine energies instead of just being like patriarchal, logical. Nope, nope, just this, just this. It is bringing in, it's transforming that because it's transformation. So I always say, air signs are like Aquarius it is the cosmos. But it's this idea of thinking with the heart, and not just like this idea of like, oh, the left brain. It's integrating energy through the heart. And I know like this might seem a little out there right now, but it's gonna keep making sense as we stay in this because Pluto had to go into Aquarius to shake up, get rid of patriarchal norms, And now Pluto is doing that with Aries, right? Working. Saturn is Aquarius's ancient ruler. Saturn is going in there with the knowing of the cosmos. But also now Saturn rules Capricorn, who is an earth sign, which is also feminine energy. So that's just went right into Aries, and Aries is that cardinal fire that gets us going again, that gets us moving again, because these air signs, these masculine signs is the idea of movement, right? But how do we want to move forward, right? Do we want to keep moving forward in a crappy patriarchal way, or do we want to start moving forward in this matriarchal way, right? And the matriarchal way is just, listening, compassion, empathy, boundaries, strong boundaries, right? Saturn, boundaries. And so this moon is integrating all this energy with Neptune in Aries, Saturn in Aries, um, Pluto and Aquarius, speaking with Gemini. So to me, this moon is all about integration. The more we start working with this, I really do believe the easier our lives will get, because it is more of a natural state of being. This masculine and feminine energy is supposed to work together. Right now, the masculine and feminine energy is in a huge, basically, fight. There's so much discord going on right now. This would be a good time to really look at the idea of discord versus accountability, see where you fall in those two camps, right? Gemini season. Um, so let's talk a little bit about Gemini, the sign of Gemini. Um, it is mutable, it is air. Mutable signs are the signs that give us that take us from one season to the next. So Gemini takes us from spring into summer. But they give us that room for integration. They give us that room to try things out, and then maybe it doesn't work, so I'm just going to put it over there. Um, I always say, like, mutable signs always come after fixed signs, and so it always gives us a little bit of wiggle room. This comes after Taurus. Taurus is, like, if you will, building the house, and then Gemini is like the interior decorator. Okay, so it's going to come in, it's going to see what you like, what fits, what doesn't fit. And that's a good way to think of Gemini too, in the sense of Gemini's superpower is observing and listening. While Geminis can be usually are excellent communicators, they're only excellent communicators when they are observing and listening first, right? Because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is that planet, Mercury is a planet of communication. And so it wants to communicate clearly, and wants to communicate in a succinct way. And the way that it does that is by listening. Um, Geminis in a lower vibe are just known to be kind of, I don't want to say the word spastic because Gemini is my rising, but just like moving all around, and a lot of times mutable signs get that too. But if they can integrate that left brain, right brain, right? The strategy. Okay, what is it that I want to do? How can I gather this information? Gemini, I always say, is the reporter, because it can go out, ask the right questions, because it wants to know things in order to get the answers and listen. If it's something it doesn't know, it keeps listening, it observes, so it can keep asking questions to get there before it speaks. So work with that within this Gemini season. I always say the sun, these are the longest days of the year. Go out, go into your communities, go to art markets, go to farmers markets, observe, see what's going on. You want to know what's going on in your community? Get out in it. Go to the park, watch people, listen. What are people talking about? Actual people in the world, not necessarily online. Um, and really get into this idea of nature, get in the idea of rhythms. That's that more like feminine side. And that masculine side is, how we're getting in there, walking through nature. But it starts to happen rather quickly. Um, right now Jupiter is in Gemini. Jupiter represents the right side of the brain, which again, I guess this is the right side of the brain. I don't know how it's going to come out in the video. That right side of the brain is that creativity. It is the mystic. It is that feminine side, and that left brain is the idea of the more logical. And they have to start working together, right? But the idea is how they work together is they understand that not that everything is going to make sense at the same time. When people say two things can be true at the same time, yes, okay. But what Gemini does is that it observes to come to its own conclusion. Gemini observes, Gemini listens, Gemini may ask more questions, right? And then it goes back to this idea of these air signs that want truth, that want freedom, um, that understand being the individual, coming into that with yourself, and then expressing it. So, you guys want to pull a couple cards? I can say this too. Well, I pulled the pages out. Let's look at those real fast. So, 3 degrees of Aquarius would be this Page of Swords, right? And also 6 degrees of Gemini would be Page of Swords, right? And page energy is young, page energy is unjaded, page energy is curious, right? And the pages always get what they want because they don't, there's nothing they believe that can stop them. That's that young energy. And that is where this moon is now at that 6 degrees. It is this time of the integration. Gemini is the time of now. Gemini is how we show up in the day to day. And so we have to start integrating this masculine and feminine energy to keep moving forward, right? To that right brain, left brain has to get in the same page. And again, the best way to integrate this during Gemini season is knowing that it just might not make sense at first. Well, this is what I'm doing. I'm just gonna have to kind of move through this. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm gonna observe. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna maybe start seeing where things aren't adding up. I'm gonna start seeing where things do make sense. Might have to like change my mind on some things, which is okay. It's a mutable sign. The Gemini can change its mind. Also with air signs, that idea, that king of swords, right, always has that butterfly on his throne because he knows the more that he grows and learns, it's okay to change. It's okay to change that mind. Um, it is okay to understand that we are constantly changing as humans, right? So we're definitely going to be working with this Page of Swords energy for this dark moon and this new moon. Now, you guys, as I read these moons, the dark moon, when the sun and the moon are 100% conjunct, that means they're at the same time or the same degree. To me, that's always that time of rest. We want our masculine and feminine to come together. We take that day or two when it's still dark and then have that time with ourselves. And then as the moon starts to illuminate, so maybe at 2 to 3 degrees of illumination, that's the time of the new moon. That's the time we start planting those seeds for this lunar cycle. Let's see, we do have a stellium in this is important too. We do have a stellium in Gemini at this time. So we will have Mercury. Mercury will be in its home sign, the sun, the moon, and Jupiter. Um, Jupiter, I don't think I finished this thought, which is kind of funny, but Jupiter does rule that right side of the brain, who's in Gemini. Gemini is traditionally seen as the left side because air signs are traditional masculine signs, which would be this idea of working with that left side. But Jupiter's there with the integration. And Gemini is there to work with both sides. It's the twins, right? So I can't stress this enough. The time of now is now to be integrating these masculine and feminine energies. Pluto is there with its trine to transform this in order for us to get used to it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. It doesn't even mean it's going to happen during this entire lunar cycle, but it does mean it's here and it's not going anywhere. It's not going to go backwards. Okay. We are moving forward in this new energy of this integration. And the fact that Mercury is in its home sign with this dark moon slash new moon, working with Pluto in Aquarius to me is also a huge green flag that this is moving forward. So again, Gemini season, see what you're observing, see what you're listening to, see if you can start these new ideas. Um, check in with your heart space, right? See where your heart is these days and how it wants to move forward. Um, strong boundaries and that I am presence with Saturn in there. Those strong boundaries is going to help you get higher to where you want to be. Neptune in Aries. Remember, Jupiter is going to move into Cancer on June 9th. Okay. Another cardinal sign, cardinal water, those feelings, the home. So we're really starting to rebuild ourselves, rebuild our homes. And this Gemini season is going to help us get there. It's really going to help integrate this masculine and feminine energy and that we feel normal going forward. We feel more succinct, if you will. We feel more confident in speaking from the heart. And honestly, you guys, when we first start talking about this, it seems maybe scary or you don't get it, and that's okay. But the more that you're just open to it, the more natural it becomes, and the more natural you fall into this rhythm that's here on the planet. It might be a little uncomfortable in the sense that you do have to be aware of what you're listening to, and you're like, oh, Jesus, this is what I actually think about things. All right, let me see how I can change that. Maybe let me observe. Let me get some new information. Let me be quiet for a minute and hear other people's opinions on this. You know, we've got to keep moving forward. Gemini is how we show up in the day to day. But Gemini is a lot of fun. So because it is this mutable kind of bouncy air feeling, and with this moon in these young degrees of Gemini, it should be giving us a lot of hope. It should be giving us that page energy of, okay, we're going to be communicating about these things differently. I see the past, right? Because a page is always looking over its shoulder. I see the past, but it doesn't mean I want to repeat it. I see the past, but let me get into a different way of how I want to move forward. Okay, I got that big old sword. Maybe I need to cut some ties, right? Maybe I need to cut some cords. But this is movement, right? Those masculine signs are about movement. In a good way, right? In a good way, in a caring way, in a loving way. Um, and sometimes you guys showing love and being caring is cutting those cords, doing something that someone might seem as being mean or I don't know, being mean for lack of a better word. But, you know, when we talk about people with like codependency or people pleasing, I always tell them the idea is you want these people to be independent and that makes them feel better because then they know they can take care of themselves. And then you don't have to constantly wear yourself out trying to take care of someone else. Work with that, work with that, work with that. We are in this age of Aquarius where it is about the individual first and then the collective. But air signs do like to be independent. Air signs like to have freedom. Um, and it doesn't mean uh, that you don't want to be in a relationship or hold on, my pages are still messed up. Or with people, but it's this idea of, think of Saturn and Aries, having those boundaries, right? Having those boundaries. Because you're really starting to know who you are. Okay, let's pull a card or two for this dark moon, new moon. Oh, all right. Ace of Pentacles, the new beginning. Oh, and the Wheel of Fortune. Let it turn, friends. Let it turn. I love the Wheel of Fortune card for Gemini season because it is this idea of turning. It's this idea of turning the seasons. We're going from spring into summer, which is beautiful. But also this idea of this integration, returning it. This Ace of Pentacles is beautiful because it speaks of earth signs, right? Which are stable, but the Page of Pentacles, my Gemini brain is also now, we call it malfunctioning. The Ace of Pentacles, it is that goddess energy, and the goddess energy integrates both God and goddess, right? It is the energy of the masculine and feminine together. And that ace is the new beginning. It's the abundance, right? Abundance of love, abundance of money, abundance of happiness, whatever you like. And it's going to come in, and it's going to come in on a stable foundation, right? So let the wheel of fortune turn. Let it turn you into this new solid beginning, let it turn into this idea of this integration of that masculine and feminine coming together so we can just show up as people like we were originally designed to be and to do. Okay, so happy Gemini season, happy dark moon in Gemini. Take that day of rest, you guys, just take it off. And here we are. It is what Memorial Weekend, so we're kind of like hitting that on all cylinders. And then also, when that new moon starts to come in, maybe see what it is that you'd like to do moving forward for the rest of this lunar cycle. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Be safe this weekend. Always wear your seatbelts, use your blinkers, go out, get into the public, observe, listen, take some time to chill out, lay in the park, sit in the grass, take a walk. Again, it's the longest days of the year. So really get out there and enjoy that. That's going to reset that nervous system. That's going to be us working with that goddess energy. And Gemini would love that. Gemini would be like, thank you. And then you can see what you're thinking about as you're walking, and have a great conversation with yourself because Gemini would love that too. Okay, friends, until next time.